Good morning to one and all. My name is Sheikh Muhammad Iqbal. I am from 2CSCD. Today I am going to give a seminar in the property and statistics about the topic of population and sampling and the introduction to the test of significance. So let's start the seminar with population and sampling. In statistics as well as in quantitative methodology, the set of data are collected and selected from a statistical population with the help of some defined procedures. There are two different types of sets, namely population and sample. So basically, we calculate the mean deviation, variance, and standard deviation. It is necessary for us to know if we are referring to the entire population or to only sample data. Suppose the size of the population is denoted by n, then the sample of the data is denoted by n-1. Let us take a look of population datasets and the sample datasets in detail. Population. It includes all the elements from the dataset and measurable characteristics of the population, such as mean and standard deviation are known as parameter. For example, all people living in India indicates the population of India. There are different types of population. They are finite population, infinite population, existent population, hypothetical population. Let us discuss all types by one. Finite population. The finite population is also known as countable population, in which the population count be counted. In other words, it is defined as the population of all individuals or objects that are finite for statistical analysis. The finite population is more advantageous than the infinite population. Examples of finite populations are employees of a company, potential consumer on a market, infinite population. The infinite population is also known as uncountable population, in which the counting of units in the population is not possible. Example of an infinite population is the number of germs in the patient's body is uncountable. Existent population. The existent population is defined as the population of constant individuals. In other words, the population whose until is available in solid form. It is known as existent population. Examples are book students, etc. Hypothetical population. The population in which whose unit is not available in solid form. It is known as hypothetical population. Population consists of set of observation objects that are all something in common. In some situations, the populations are only hypothetical examples of an outcome or rolling the dice, the outcome of tossing a coin. Statistics related links means probability and statistics. Sample. It includes one or more observations that are shown from the population, and the measurable characteristics of a sample is just statistics. Sampling is the process of selecting the sample from the population. For example, some people living in India, the sample of the population. Basically, there are two types of sampling. They are probability and sampling, non-probability sampling. Probability sampling. In probability sampling, the population units cannot be selected as the dissection of the researcher. This can be dealt with the following certain procedures, which will ensure that every unit of the population consists of one fixed population being included in the sample. Such as method is also called as random sampling. Some of the techniques used for probability sampling are simple random sampling, cluster sampling, stratified sampling, disordered sampling, proportional sampling, optimized allocation started sampling, multi-stage sampling. Non-probability sampling. If non-probability sampling, the population units can be selected of the decision and the researcher. Those samples will use the human judgments for selecting units and has no theoretical basis for estimating the characteristics of the population. Some of the techniques used for non-probability sampling are quota sampling, judgment sampling, propositive sampling. Population and sampling examples. All the people who have the ID proofs is the population, and a group of people who only have voter ID with them in the sample. All the students in the class are population, whereas the top 10 students in the class are the sample. All the members of the parliament is population. The female candidates present there is the sample. Population and sample formulas. We all demonstrate here the formulas of mean, absolute deviation, variance, and standard deviation based on the population and given sample. Suppose n denotes the size of the population and n-1 denotes the sample size, then the formulas for mean, absolute deviation, variance, and standard deviation are given by population mean deviation. 1 by n sigma power I is equals to n mod xi minus x. See here we have given all the formulas. Difference between population and sample. Meaning collection of all units or elements that possesses common characteristics. Sample. A subgroup of the members of the population includes each and every element of a group. Only includes a handful of units of population. Characteristics. Parameter. Statistic. Data collection. Complete enumerator or census. Sampling of sampling survey. Focus on identification of the characteristics. Makes interference about the population. So let us move to the significance of the Test of significance. So let us discuss this. Test of significance. In many circumstances, to arrive at decisions about the population on the basis of sample information, we make assumptions about the population parameter involved, such as an assumption is called statistical hypothesis, which may or may not be true. The procedure which enables to decide on the basis of sample results whether a hypothesis is true or not is called test of hypothesis or test of significance. In this, we have to null hypothesis. A null hypothesis is a hypothesis which asserts there is no significant difference between statistic and the population parameter, and whatever observed difference is there is merely due to fluctuation in sampling from the population. For applying test of significance, we first use up a hypothesis, a defined statement about population parameters, such as hypothesis is usually a hypothesis has no difference is called null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is a statement of no difference. Alternative hypothesis. It is denoted by HI. Is the opposite statement of null hypothesis. There are two types of error, type 1 error and type 2 error. Type 1 error. Reject null hypothesis when it is true. Type 1 error. Accept all null hypothesis when it is false. Level of significance. The selection of the level of significance depends on the choice of the researcher. Generally, level of significance is taken by 5% or 1%. It is denoted by alpha. It is the probability of committing type 1 error. The LOS, the level of significance, measures the amount of risk of error associated in taking decisions. LOS is expressed in percentage. The LOS alpha is equal to 5% means that there are 5 chances in 100 the null hypothesis is rejected when it is true. The critical region. In any test hypothesis, the test statistic is calculated from the sample data is used to accept and reject all the null hypotheses. Consider the area under the probability curve of the sampling distributions of the test statistics. The area under the probability curve divided into two regions, namely the region of rejection where NH is rejected and the region of acceptance where NH is accepted. Crucial region is the region of rejection of NH. The area of the critical region equals to the level of significance. Note that CR always lies on the tail of distribution. Right tail test. When the alternative hypothesis H1 of the greater than type, then H1 mu1 is greater than mu0 or H1 alpha q square alpha 1 square is greater than alpha 2 square, etc. Then the entire critical region of area alpha lies on the right side of the curve. In such case, test of hypothesis is known as right tail test. Left tail test. When the alternative hypothesis HI is of less than the type of H1 mu is less than mu0 or H alpha square is less than alpha 1 square is less than alpha 2 square, then the entire critical region of area alpha lies in the left side of the curve. In such case, the test of hypothesis is known as left tail test. Two tail test. When the alternate hypothesis HI is one of the not equal type, mu is not equal to mu0 and alpha 1 square is not equal to alpha 2 square. Then the entire critical region of the area alpha lies on both sides of the curve. In such case, the test of hypothesis is known as two-tailed test. Procedure of testing the hypothesis. Null hypothesis. Define a null hypothesis HA taking into consideration the nature of the problem and data involved. Alternative hypothesis. Define a alternative hypothesis HI so that it could decide whether we should use one hand or two-tailed test. Level of significance. Select the appropriate level of significance alpha depending on the reliability of the estimate permissible risk. Test statistics. Compute the test statistic T minus E of T by SE of T. Conclusion. We compare the compared values in the test statistic Z with the critical values of Z and at a given level of significance. Mod Z is greater than ZA, we accept the null hypothesis. Thanking you for giving me this opportunity.